Hey YouTube, this is the Factor at the Eagle's Nest. We're having another game night here with the pickup game. To go over what Germany's turn 3 buys here are 3 fighters, a tank, artillery, and 5 infantry. It was brought to my attention by a commenter by the name of Paul Radovic, I believe. I don't want to destroy his last name, but Paul anyway. There was a turn 1, there was on C-Zone 125 here, there was a sub-on-sub battle. The German sub was there to deny Russian money. The Russian sub that was in 127 came over there and we had a battle. It was brought to my attention that the German sub would have had the option to submerge before any dice were even rolled. We obviously did not do that. It was discussed between me and Bro C3 that there would have been a lot of things that could have potentially been done differently when that happened. So we're just going to own that mistake and just correct it later, I guess, meaning use the sub-on-sub battles the correct way later. So we didn't decide to change it. So we are actually here, just like this set over here, we're turn 3 for Germany. You can see a big mass here. This is everything that's going into Leningrad. I'm pretty positive the Russians are going to lose pretty poorly. I just want to hopefully take a lot of those infantry along with them. But that's going to be pretty bloody for the Russians, I would assume. This is turn 3, like I said, and this is when Germany typically starts to do quite a bit of damage to Russia. So he's also going into Belarus and to Western Ukraine with pretty much everything in the eastern half of the German state that he can actually bring in there. So just about everything's going into here to try to push back everything back into Russia. I mean, Russia is pretty weak considering they were attacked on turn 1. They didn't have time to do anything. So I would imagine that it's going to hurt pretty bad for the Russians this turn. But that is what Germany decided to do for all of his attacks this round. Once they're rolled, we'll come back and show you what all those rolls were and how indeed poorly it did go for the Russians. All right, we're here with Germany's end of turn 3. They did pretty well, kind of what you'd expect here. They went into Leningrad, did pretty much wiped out the Russians. The Russians did, however, get to take down 3 airplanes with their anti-air, which is pretty awesome. But they pretty much diced the Russians pretty good. They got a pretty big stacks of tanks and infantry left there. Belarus went about even for both. I only had 3 units there, and I think I took out 2 or 3 units with them, so that's pretty awesome. Western Ukraine, both infantry took out each other, and then the airplane landed in the Baltic states along with the rest of the airplanes that were over here. So he just kind of did his inland push here and did pretty well, really. He moved a bunch of his troops from the Western Front over to the Eastern Front here, since this is the only pocket of resistance the Russians really have left for him. He put a tank and artillery into Germany there, and then put an artillery and all the infantry and planes into Western Germany. So he's just getting ready for the push to continue over into Russia. So once the Russians go, we'll see how they want to respond. A mental note too, the Germans did roll for their technology, got nothing. And they were actually collecting $60 this turn with national objectives, so they're doing pretty good. We'll have to see how the Allies respond. All right, we're at the beginning of turn 3 for Russia. They bought 14 infantry. The only attack the Russians are going to do is go into Belarus here to try to just slow down the German horde coming in. So not a whole lot to do with the attack phase here for them. So they're just going to go ahead, roll that attack, and we'll be back once it's done. This is the end of turn 3 for the Soviet Union. Their one attack went pretty poor. They took out 1 unit and got 2 dudes killed, so they flew their plane back to Russia. Pretty lackluster, to be honest. Moved 1 guy from Russia into Smolensk just to try to slow down the horde there. Again, same thing with the guy into Western Ukraine just to slow down the Germans. Put 3 infantry in Ukraine, 1 in Volgograd, and the 10 in Russia. Brought back the guns to the motherland. I think they might need a little more than the Chinese do this game. Started to retreat guys back here over into Russia, and then brought some Mongolians down into China. Since they're right there, I might as well go ahead and give them a hand anyway. The one thing I did do is I started walking the guy from Iraq back up here, and I did take the 2 fast movers and put them back into Cairo, just for a little bit of help on defense there, and put the planes all the way back up into Ukraine here. a little worried about those planes, but at the very least, they can stop the Germans. So we'll go and see what the Japanese are going to do, and we'll come back with their buys and their attack moves. Beginning of turn 3 with Japan, they bought 2 tanks, 1 infantry, a tactical bomber, a fighter, and 2 transports. They're doing quite a bit here. They took their fleet over here, moved the 2 battleships from the Malayan Sea Zone, I don't know the number, from 37, and put them over into Sea Zone 44 to get rid of those Anzac boats. Brought a couple boats from the Philippines down here to take out the Anzac transport, so those will obviously both be gone. But a good chunk of what he's doing here is he's bringing a lot of planes into Quang Sea here, and tanks and planes into Kwangtung, as well as planes and guys into Yunnan. So all those extra dice there are the movement points those planes have left, just so we get them correct, because Japan has a lot of planes. Bring a plane into here to take out that transport. Moving into here to take out the 1 Chinese guy. They did some movement into Mongolia to position themselves better into China, and moved a few guys out over here. So Japan's doing quite a bit, like they kind of typically do. You kind of see what it looks like. They all look like they're pretty much in favor for the Japanese, unless some dice rolls go bad. But once we're done, we'll come back and we'll see how the offensive fared. And a turn 3 with Japan. Japan did pretty well. Obviously they went down here and got all the free stuff. And got positioned here. Here I didn't take a single unit here. Down here though, I don't know if I took 1 unit in, was it Yunnan there? Yeah, I think I might have took 1 there. But the killer was Quang Sea for him. He did lose 4 planes maybe. He saved 1. So I think he lost, I think he lost 4 and saved 1, and then all of his ground units. That went pretty bad for him. Kwangtung went good. I don't think I took out a single thing. And of course he took out all the Anzac ships down here. Anzac couldn't muster much of a defense here. I was kind of hoping to take out a battleship. That'd have been like the best Anzac game ever right now, but not quite. The kind of one bad thing he had here was he had to put his transports here, so it made him put his planes here as well. And with that American fleet hanging here, we might come hit that and take out those transports. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with the Americans yet, because he does have the 6 kamikazes there as well if he wants to use them all. So, I mean, he does have kamikazes and that kind of stuff, so it might be kind of rough, but I think I might do it anyhow. I guess next turn we'll see. So now next turn is America's, and we'll kind of take a look and see what America has to muster here. This beginning of turn 3 with America. America bought 11 infantry, 1 artillery, and 5 transports. They also finally got something awesome on the breakthrough chart, to only realize that they got radar, which isn't really going to do America much of anything in the game, but I guess at least they got some kind of breakthrough somewhere. All right, so coming in here from United Kingdom, the strategic bomber is going to bomb Paris. And then going on the other side of the board here, they're bringing in their whole fleet over here into Sea Zone 6. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a scramble, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have some kamikazes more than likely. We're definitely going to have kamikazes. I don't know about the scrambles yet, but I would assume so. So that is what the Americans are doing for combat this round. And we'll come back and see how this decisive sea battle here ends. Here's the turn 3 recap of the Americans. They liberated Siberia. They went in on this battle here, and the kamikazes did horribly. They only hit the battleship once, and the rest of the stuff only hit, took out 1 destroyer. So everything else was there. So that went very well for the Americans. Non-combat moves, they took a anti-aircraft artillery from there and put it down in Hawaiian Islands. Moved the transport back from Soviet Far East. Flew the planes from Midway up to Soviet Far East. And then over here, they started to get ready for their invasion of Europe somewhere. I don't have any blow up boxes, so all this stuff in Morocco is everything that's here. And then, of course, all the naval forces that were around here did converge here. However, the bomber in London did do 6 damage to the industrial complex in France, so to stop the Germans from putting stuff there. So all in all, the turn went pretty good. They placed all their units again over here. They did non-combat 1 mechanized infantry over to Western United States, so in a few turns they can start moving stuff around in the Pacific. So they just kind of got ready for the inevitable that Germany knew was coming somewhere, and we'll continue with Chinese turn. This is Chinese turn 3. They bought 4 infantry. They're going into Yunnan there with all the guys from Sichuan on the plane from Burma, and they're going to take the free one over here. Not a whole lot going on with China because they only have, what, 5-6 units total on the board. So once this one battle's done, I'll come back with the non-combat moves. And to turn 3 with the Chinese. Here, one attack went well. They didn't lose anything. So they flew the plane back to Burma. And then for placement, they just put 1 guy in each one of these territories around the artillery here, and then put 1 infantry in Kwang Si, because the British are definitely going to take those planes out of there. So that's all. And then I guess they went and took the one up there too, obviously. So that's all we did for the Chinese. Kind of spread out a little bit, made it a little bit harder for the Japanese to do what they want to do. So we'll be back here with the English turn.